Hey, Tegan, thanks for joining me on Buzz Chats today. I'd love to hear, did young Tegan always think she'd go into mining?
Definitely not. I grew up in New Zealand, and I studied fashion, and my dream was to be a celebrity stylist in America. I was really obsessed with, the Paris Hiltons and the Nicole Richies when I was in high school. And so I also loved sewing and fashion, and that's kind of the dream that I thought that I would chase. And so I studied and actually went for an OE over to LA. I was living on my friend's couch in
Oh, wow.
LA, in Hollywood, and working in Beverly Hills and interning,
Wow.
basically just driving around picking up clothes and, you know, washing things. So that was my dream. But I guess as life has it, my visa ran out and I ended up having to go back to New Zealand where I was working like 3 jobs to try and get enough money to go back to, America and apply for another visa and get my green card, but it just goes nowhere by the time you
Yeah.
pay rent and you're working all these jobs, so, I decided I had to make the jump and get some big, quick cash, and my dad was already working over in the mines with my brother, and so I called them and said, "I'm coming," and yeah.
Wow, that is such a cool story. I feel like we grew up in the same era, magazine covers, all that sort of stuff. So just you doing it and having the guts to go and check it out, awesome. Admire so much. I've read a bit about you and your journey, and you've spent 10 years on site, I think, in the Pilbara. Did you enjoy that lifestyle? Was it everything or more than you thought it would be like? Go for it.
You know, there was phases. So the first phase was like, "What the hell am I doing here? Like, why did I come here? It's 50 degrees of heat."
Yeah.
And then there was the next phase where it was like, "Oh, actually, I get my first paycheck. This is really good. Like, I could, you know, get that dream back to America."
Yeah.
And then there was the next phase where it was like I'd been there for a year and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I still wanna go to America. I love the Bali life. Like, should I do
Yeah.
my own business and do FIFO into Bali?" And so I did, like, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And then it was always a one-year plan, right? Like, it's like,
Mm.
just 1 more year. I'll save a little bit more money next year, you know?
Yeah.
And so I guess, like, by the time I'd had kids, which was probably, like, maybe the 4th year that I had been there or the 5th year, that's when life changed, and I was more looking for the stability, and
Mm.
I guess, like, the mining company, BHP, that I worked for offered that as well as, helped us get ahead with not having to pay bills and rent and all those things. So
Yeah.
by that phase is when I kinda jumped into more of a career as just instead of just, like, focusing on the money and looking for that real, like, stability. And throughout that time, living in Port Hedland in that rural town, something that I never thought I would admit, I loved. Like, just the friends that you make, and it's mostly the friendships, right? Like, there's not much else happening there, but being really close with people and having
Mm.
neighbors that, pop over for a wine every day after work or
Yeah.
like, just that's the part that I really love.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got really fond memories living and working in the Pilbara. So I understand that you entered in as utilities, but you left at like superintendent level. So that's a pretty, yeah, big career I would say you've had. What was something that you thought, an experience you got to have working in mining that you never really thought was possible?
Um, I would say probably like a lot of the career, obviously studying fashion, I didn't expect to then want to go into, getting my project management diploma or leadership and management and running small projects. Then I went into like contract management, understanding the intimate details of contracts and even negotiations, all of these kind of skills that I was exposed to throughout different roles over those 10 years that have essentially kind of led me into wanting to do my own business.
Mm.
And I don't know if I would have gained those skills if I had gone into a different career. Because, if I was to have chosen fashion, like it would have just been fashion, TV, styling. I don't know how much of the business side I would have learnt about. Whereas being in such a diverse industry, I was given opportunities that like opened my eyes to whole different ball games that I never
Yeah.
thought that I would be exposed to.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And I think doing residential, like being local, you're thought of like, there's Tegan or there's Kim, like they're here, let's give her a go at that. So, kind of the
Mm.
opportunities when you are residential, I think, yeah, there's plentiful. Yeah, and I feel like you just light up when you talk about mining. So, it's interesting to think like where you started and where you thought your direction and even where you studied to being now and, doing your time on site and now going off and building a business with that as well. Okay, jumping into maybe a little bit tricky, maybe not, but like what does comfort mean to you when you're working on site? Like not directly talking about workwear, but like emotional, physical, like what does that
Mm.
mean?
Like, even though you said not workwear, it is something that I thought of straight away. And I don't know if I've told you this story, but with my first pregnancy, so my daughter is like nearly 9, so it would have been like about 10 years ago that I first was pregnant. And like back then I was wearing like I did have workwear, but I was wearing like jeans, and I there was no real maternity wear. So I remember as I got bigger, I would have to like tie my hair ties to the size as it like got bigger and bigger, and I like looping hair ties
Yeah,
underneath my shirt basically to be able to go to work each day and still wear pants.
yes, to work
But
it. Yes.
I guess it's probably not just like for pants, it's everything that has evolved around the whole industry, even that
Mm,
I've seen in the past 10 years, not just like workwear, but, even like I was talking about safe styles the other day, how cool they are. Like I remember you only used to be able to wear certain ballet
yes.
sunglasses. Now everyone can really like have a number of options and go to work and represent themselves in a
Mm,
sense, like, really find comfort in and going to work wearing whatever type of pants that you want because there's skinny jeans, there's wide leg, there's bootleg, there's
yeah.
jeans, there's
There's
different
options.
glasses. So
Yeah.
there's lots of options and you don't I feel like when I think about comfort, it's about the fact that people now can turn up to work and be exactly who they are and
Mm.
what they want, and it's more accepted than it probably, in the past.
Yeah, such a good point. I do remember those safety glasses when I was at site too, and now I've got Safe Styles, and I wear them as my regular sunnies. Like they're just really good. I love them, like the crow's feet, like so many benefits. So yeah, relate
Mm.
to that. Can you share with me a time that you felt uncomfortable at work?
I felt uncomfortable. I guess like starting a new role every time is always going to be
Mm.
uncomfortable, but I've always kind of leant into those challenges. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that I do reflect on. And like when I think about what was hard or what was uncomfortable, is like taking the next step and going into things that, traditionally I would not have ever expected that I could do.
Yeah.
And maybe just like some of the backlash that you get and the interim. And
Mm.
then it's quite funny when people, you have been in those roles, maybe like I would say a supervisor role that I was in. And in the beginning, people were like, oh, you'd never be able to do that. And they say that to you directly,
Yeah.
like you have to have that.
Don't hold back.
Whereas you're like, I've had 20 years experience and you know nothing. And I'd be like, yeah, but I'm not here to like try and tell you what to do. I'm just like more the organizer. We'll get the work packs up.
It's full circle. Leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me on Buzz Chats. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you around.